Hey, folks, what a week it's been. What a week it's been. No, we got some laughs to go throughout the week, other than some very sneaky shenanigans the Democrats have been pulling. Now, we're all very familiar with the Democrats and their sneaky shenanigans, folks. And we're going to get to the DeSantis sending all the illegals to Martha's Vineyard in a little while. But first, folks, I want to touch on this monkey business that Crypt Keeper Joe Brandon Biden has been pulling in the past week. So we have right here, this is a headline from Yahoo News. Biden nominates U.S. attorney for Florida Mar-a-Lago district. And since you can't see what I'm looking at, because I don't know how to do it that way, they show in the headline a picture of the heavily redacted report, I guess, with everything, pretty much every line blacked out, because God forbid they really want you to know the truth. It's the FBI affidavit that was laying out the basis for a search warrant. Now, I'm sure if they removed out all that blacked out material, you would find that the FBI had no reason to actually have probable cause for a search. But we all know that woke Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, still has, and I've said this many times on the show, sour grapes, the old term we used to use, about the fact he did not become a Supreme Court justice because the Republicans refused to confirm him, and then Trump got to pick Neil Gorsuch instead. Could you imagine if Garland was on the Supreme Court, folks? That would be a bit of a nightmare, I would think. Anyhow, so he has appointed, so it says this is from the Associated Press in Washington on the Yahoo News page. President Joe Biden has nominated a Miami litigator and longtime government lawyer to serve as a U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida. The office currently involved in the Justice Department's investigation of classified, I'm going to throw air quotes around that, records of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. Now, going back a few weeks, I pointed out to you all, and I have not heard it. Of course, I don't watch CNN because if I did, I'd probably lose more brain cells. Well, not so much CNN, but PMSNBC. It's a late great Rush Limbaugh used to call it PMSNBC because all their anchors are constantly PMSing. But due to a still standing executive order put in place by George W. Bush shortly after the 9/11 attacks, he had made it clear that anything that leaves the White House with him is no longer classified. So when he would go to the ranch in Texas and he took classified information, once it left the White House, it was no longer classified. So in theory, none of Trump's documents are classified. But fake news doesn't want you to know that. Now, Mackenzie Lapointe, I think that's how, or Lapointe, however you want to put it, would replace Juan Antonio Gonzalez, who's been a top prosecutor in Southern Florida involved in the investigation of classified records and debate over whether a judge should appoint a special master to review the documents taken by the FBI in the search. It was unclear whether the Brandon administration chose to announce the nomination for the position. Now, of course, it's unclear why. That's what the woke wants you to believe. It's very clear why. As the government's case winds its way through the court system, Gonzalez, who previously served as a senior prosecutor in the office, had been appointed to the petition by A.G. Merrick Garland. He was never formally nominated, however. So the point will be in the spotlight for months to come as the investigation continues. He is currently with Pillsbury, Winthrop, Shaw, Pittman, and before that, he worked at Blas and Schiller and Flexner. He worked in the Southern District of Florida as an assistant U.S. attorney from 2002 to 6. Biden also nominated Roger Handberg to be the United States Attorney for the Middle District of Florida, which is currently handling a federal investigation into Republican Representative Matt Gaetz, who the liberals completely despise, folks. He's who the liberals hate the most? I think you would have Donald Trump at number 1, probably Ron DeSantis at number 2, and Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene tied for number 3. List will go on and on and on. Although I'm thinking they're beginning to like Cocaine Mitch. Because if even Rush Limbaugh called him Cocaine Mitch, he's probably Cocaine Mitch. Now, however, the U.S. attorney picks must be confirmed by the Senate, and home state senators usually have significant input on their nominees, but both Florida candidates were recommended by a bipartisan commission led by Senator Marco Rubio, who praised Biden's choices. Now, this is odd. This is odd because maybe Marco Rubio had some beef with Trump. He says they have served their communities and country with distinction, and I expect both will respect the Constitution and uphold the rule of law without fear or favor. President also nominated McLean Schneider, District North Dakota. He was in private practice and served North Dakota 2008 to 2016. Now, this is all I have to say about this, folks. Anybody that Biden appoints is likely not necessarily good for the conservative end. Even though Rubio praised the decision, there's probably some closed-door stuff that Rubio doesn't know. Very likely, folks. Very, very likely. Anyhow, so on with that. It's just kind of odd that he appointed 2 attorneys and 2 prosecuting attorneys in 2 districts where, like I said, 2 of the most hated Republicans in the country happen to reside and be being investigated in. So, what we have next is DeSantis sending the migrants to Martha's Vineyard. Now, a lot of us were actually starting to express concern and dislike for the fact that DeSantis had been promising for a very long time to send illegal immigrants that ended up in Florida to Brandon's home state of Delaware. He had not yet fulfilled his promise. However, it was just earlier this week where 2 planes with a total of 50 migrants landed in Martha's Vineyard. And of course, all the left was outraged by it. They said, and by the way, there's signs on numerous businesses in Martha's Vineyard, all minorities, immigrants, LGBTQ, whatever, welcome. I guess they weren't too welcome considering the fact that they were only on the island for maybe 24 hours before they got moved somewhere else. And they're saying, we have no capacity to handle these migrants. We don't have the capacity. Wait a minute, folks. Obama has a 8-bedroom, 8-bathroom house on, I believe, was it 23 acres, 32 acres, something huge like that. That's a big enough tent city right there to house all of these illegals. 1 tent per person comfortably in this huge acreage. And again, most of these houses are empty at least 8 months out of the year. If you want these migrants so bad and you want to welcome them so bad, open your doors, folks. Now, of course, everybody else on conservative media is saying this. I'm not. I'm one of the last ones to be saying it, but still, if they're so precious and such an asset to democracy, can go right ahead. Hold on a second. No, Troy, I do not know how to do call-ins, but if you have any questions or comments, you can put them in there in the comment box. Like I said, I don't have this thing completely set up right. However, unless there is a way that you know that I don't. Now, this simply the fact that the left is so outraged over this, folks. And you had Muriel Bowser asking for the National Guard in D.C. Now, 50 migrants in Martha's Vineyard is a fraction, maybe a 100th of what they see in Texas every single day. We've had over 2 million illegal immigrants cross the border this year, folks, alone. And that being said, why is 50 in the giant, spacious properties of Martha's Vineyard such a problem? Simply because the Democrats don't like it. They don't. They really don't like the immigrants. Now, they do have a bunch of Brazilians, which are considered to be the high class of the Hispanics amongst many, working all around the island, as I heard per a caller on Toucan Buck on Friday. But they don't want any of these Venezuelans there. But then again, why? And then, again, if they open doors, open welcome arms. But there is no way that they want them there. They've already been deported within 24 hours, folks. Within 24 hours, off to Cape Cod. Now, the Democrats, of course, have been calling this human trafficking. Not only, folks, did DeSantis send 50 to Martha's Vineyard, but in response to that, Governor Greg Abbott sent 75, boom, right on the doorstep of the Naval Observatory, where Kamala Harris stays. And I don't think she was cackling too much about that. Well, our border is secure in the way that most nations and places deem that their priority to be the border to be secure. Okay, it is. Well, oh shit! Now Ron DeSantis just sent 50 to Martha's Vineyard. I got to one up him. I'm going to send 25 to Kamala Harris's front door. I love it. And the Democrats are so outraged by this. But as DeSantis said, we are not a sanctuary state. Martha's Vineyard is a sanctuary city. So boom. And then they call this human trafficking. Ken Burns, I believe, on Commie News Network, CNN, compared DeSantis sending these migrants there to the Holocaust. One of the richest cities in America. And, of course, they had to sign a waiver. And considering, if you've seen the footage of these planes, folks, these aren't little Cessnas. These are actually pretty spacious planes. That means there's only 25 people on each aircraft. That is luxury transportation, folks. And these planes are fast. I'm not sure exactly what type they were. I'd have to Google that because I am a plane guy. But comparing it to the Holocaust, and then you had all the other Democrats calling it human trafficking. Human trafficking, folks? What? Go to your open border if you want to see human. Wait a minute. And inhumane? What about the 55 people that died in the back of a truck? They had no air conditioning or anything else. What about those migrants who were being human trafficked? I mean, the hypocrisy is, beyond belief. And we're gonna find out. I'm gonna try and find out exactly what this aircraft here was. What kind of plane was used to transport migrants to Martha's Vineyard? Well, if we can even find that. They probably don't want you to be able to find that on woke Google. Let's see. The private jets. But it doesn't tell you. Dornier 328. Give me the Dornier 328 aircraft. Turboprop powered airliner or jet, because one of them appears to be a complete jet, not a turbo. Maybe it is. Yeah, it is a turboprop. Okay. Fairly decent sized aircraft sits. Da, 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 da. I mean, this is on on planes, not buses, not on air conditioned buses. Whereas all these people that were smuggling these people into the country illegally were probably unair conditioned box cars and everything else. Can't really find anything about. Okay, maximum of 27 people. So everybody had their own seat, 2 aircrafts with 2 seats to spare. So you could have had a couple obese people on the plane. I don't see what's so wrong with this. I mean, and then again, all the migrants signed a form. And then they were asking the ones dropped in front of Kamala Harris's house, is the border open? Oh, yes, the border is definitely open because we are in here. We are not legally in here, and we're not free. But no, our border is closed. You see, everybody's calling this a political stunt. It is, but it's a very good and very smart political stunt. Now, we also have here headline from Rahu. Ron DeSantis could be charged with kidnap after moving immigrants to Martha's Vineyard. The Department of Justice has been tapped by California Governor Gavin Newsom to investigate whether Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' controversial decision to send 2 flights of migrants north would amount to kidnapping. I strongly urge the U.S. Department of Justice to open an investigation into this possible criminal or civil violations of federal law based on this alleged fraudulent scheme. Governor Newsom had written in a 15th of September letter addressed to attorney Merrick Garland. Now, we were already talking about Merrick Garland. He's still got sour grapes because he's not on the Supreme Court. Images of people have been reportedly lured onto planes from shelters in Texas under the false premises jobs, housing, dominated news cycle. Critics, immigration activists, and later the White House labeled it a dangerous stunt. Again, first off, this was done legally. These migrants legally signed a waiver, signed a consent form, wanted to. Okay, now, let me ask a dumb question for all the Democrats out there that are saying that this is horrible. Would you rather be outdoors in the sweltering Texas heat, sleeping on the street, or go to the northeast rich town of Martha's Vineyard? Would you rather be living in an internment camp in sweltering Miami, where I live, which is about 93 degrees currently during the daytime and very high humidity, or go to the calm, rich area of Martha's Vineyard? I'm sure you'll take Martha's Vineyard all the time. That goes back to the Ken Burns comment comparing this to the Holocaust. These migrants weren't put in boxcars, not told where they were going to go. They're not being sent into the gas chambers or anything like that. Although now that they're in the hands of Democrats, who knows what's going to happen to them? Especially wealthy, rich Democrats, when the average income on the island is, $1 billion a year? It's a 95% Democrat-run island. But I thought they liked migrants, right? I thought they loved migrants. So DeSantis has responded to Gavin Newsom's trying to charge him with kidnapping with, all I could say, I think his hair gel is interfering with his brain function. And that is one, probably is. I mean, we do know that Gavin Newsom was at one point married to Kimberly Guilfoyle. And when asked on Fox and Friends who spends more time on their hair, and you can only imagine this, folks, how much time, she said without a doubt, no, Gavin did. And that's, I'm probably willing to bet he spends 3 hours on his hair a day. Maybe at least an hour and a half. I spend no time on mine. Men aren't supposed to spend lots of time on their hair, folks. Well, I like to be a suave guy, like to walk tall, look good, be a hypocrite, talk crap about DeSantis. I'm Gavin Newsom, and I approve this message. This hair gel's getting me high. Higher than the dope in California. Anyhow, as I said, the Democrats are going to just, they're going to ignore, and then they're going to shame you at the same time. They are not going to admit that there's a problem on the border, and then once the problem comes to their front door, they're going to want to send it away because, no, there's nothing wrong with the border, but we don't want all these illegal immigrants in our hoity-toity rich town. Like I said, Obama had plenty of rooms. Wasn't that 8-room thing? He could have made them all a hell of a lot more damn comfortable than, I don't know, wherever the hell they're going. You could put 3 in each room. That's 24 right there. And then a couple banking on the couch, everything else, Could have easily fit 50 people comfortably sleeping in the air-conditioned home of the Obamas who praise the immigrants. So now, perhaps next time around, he'll send them to Delaware because that is in the works. And I think, honestly, my thing on here is, folks, I think DeSantis and Abbott and Governor Ducey in Arizona, it's primarily DeSantis and Abbott, should have a 3-way competition as to who can deport the most illegal immigrants into the most liberal of cities. And just do it. I mean, maybe they should open a fund, like a campaign contribution fund, where we can donate to pay for these illegals to be shipped to liberal cities. Now, it necessarily wouldn't be, I mean, in Florida, primarily the migrants we have are Cubans who are fleeing communism. So when the Cubans get into the state of Florida, because they're fleeing communism and they tend to vote Republican, we kind of want to keep them here. But all the other ones that coming in on Biden's orders, oh yes, by all means, let's have a race between the other 2 states that are doing this and see who can deport the most illegal immigrants to liberal sanctuary states and cities. I think we should fill a 747. Better yet, well, I don't think a 747 could land at Martha's Vineyard. That's a little too big. They have to be smaller planes. That's the problem. An A32, 8. What is it? An A320. Oh no, A220. The new Airbus A220 could easily land at MVY, and give them a bunch more. I think we should increase it. Increase the illegals going to these blue cities and states, because like I said, they're getting a fraction of what Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico have to deal with every day. 50 is nothing, and they couldn't handle it. So let's give them 5,000, folks. That's the new goal. Let's get 5,000 illegals to Martha's Vineyard. and maybe 2,000 in front of Kamala Harris's doorstep. That's it for tonight, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Let's go, Brandon. Like, comment, and subscribe. Because remember, here, it's always real.